Mr. Speaker, Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor shamed our country and the royal family. But for too long, members of Parliament were barred from even raising criticisms of him, let alone properly scrutinising his role as trade envoy. Because of the outdated tradition that mentions of any member of the royal family in this House must, in the words of the previous Speaker, be, and I quote, very rare, very sparing and very respectful. I encountered this firsthand back in 2011 when I was asked to respond to an adjournment debate on behalf of Lord Green, who was then the Minister for Trade and Investment. The adjournment was brought by the late Paul Flynn. But even he, an ardent and outspoken Republican, as I'm sure many of us remember, wasn't allowed to raise any actual concerns about Andrew himself. And standing in for the responsible minister, I set out the government's position as it had been for a decade, in support of the Prince's role as the trade envoy. Looking back, and knowing what we all know now, I'm horrified by it. I can't imagine what it must have been like for the survivors and their families to hear Andrew praised like that, as they heard so often all around the world. So I apologise to them, and I'm determined to change things. Our motion focuses on finally getting the truth out about his role as Special Representative for Trade and Investment, because it focuses at the start of this at the appointment of the former Prince Andrew to this role back in 2001. We've seen the reporting that the King, then Prince of Wales, expressed his concerns about that appointment. More alarmingly, we have read that Peter Mandelson wrote to the then Prime Minister Tony Blair, as his former Trade Secretary, pushing for Andrew's appointment. One friend of Epstein lobbying for a job for another friend of Epstein, a job that might help Epstein enrich himself. So we clearly need to get to the bottom of that appointment and the role Mandelson himself played in it. And only the papers demanded by this motion will allow us to do that. We need them published as soon as possible, without delay. Channel 4 uncovered emails in the Epstein files in which Epstein was trying to meet the Libyan dictator Gaddafi in the dying months of the Gaddafi regime to help him find somewhere to put his money. I think something that the minister actually raised at the time. In other words, Epstein looked at the deadly crisis in Libya and saw a chance to make some money. And he thought his friend Andrew could help. And this is what it says in one of the emails. I wondered if PA could make the intro. A few weeks later, Andrew wrote back, Libya fixed. Though the Epstein-Gaddafi meeting doesn't appear to have happened, it does show clearly what these relationships were all about for Epstein, increasing his own wealth and power. In many ways, this is the first truly global scandal, from the White House in Silicon Valley to Oslo and Paris. But it's also a deeply British scandal, reaching right to the top of the British establishment. Because can there be many people more symbolic of the rot that eats away at the British establishment than the former Duke of York and Special Trade Envoy, and the former Business Secretary, First Secretary of State, and Ambassador to the United States? Their association with Epstein and their actions on his behalf, while trusted with the privilege of public office, are a stain on our country.
Colleagues and many civil servants have told me their own stories of their interactions with Mr. Mountbatten-Windsor, and they all betray the same pattern. A man on a constant self-aggrandizing and self-enriching hustle. A rude, arrogant and entitled man who could not distinguish between the public interest, which he said he served, and his own private interest. I remember him coming to visit the Sea Cadets in Tonopandi. They were absolutely delighted and excited to meet a member of the royal family, but he insisted on coming by helicopter, unlike his mother, who came twice to the Rhondda and always came by car. He left early and he showed next to no interest in the young people. That is, of course, Mr. Speaker, not a crime, nor is arrogance, fortunately, I suppose.